morning. Good morning. Welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. We are live at the Guardian building. On deck, we have, to my left, you see how cool he is this morning. Eastside Allan Lengel, Deadline Detroit, Washington Post. What was the name of your paper in middle school?
Eagle American.
Eagle
High school.
High school.
Adolph was the editor, and I was the sports editor.
Right. So, good morning.
Good morning.
We missed you last night.
Thank you. I heard you had a good show. I did. I went to my brother's for dinner.
Oh, okay. So sibling bonding.
Yes.
Okay,
exactly.
I get it. And we also have our brother down from downriver, the former chief of police of the Trenton Police Department, Mr. Jim Nardone. What's up, Jim?
Good morning. It's great to see everybody in person today. Everybody looks good. The Autorama's going on in Detroit, so it looks like there's a crew down there.
What do you tell the Autorama? I'm trying to remember. Is that just for like sporty cars?
Yeah, it's more of it's not an auto show. It's more,
Yeah,
like slick cars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrities.
Are you into cars?
I'm not so much, but I've been in the last few years.
It's nice. There are people obviously in Detroit. I mean, you go to the Dream Cruise. I'm not that into cars. I don't really. In fact, my niece just got a new pickup truck, Ford pickup truck, and she was all excited about it. And hey, it's great. People, I mean, when you get a new car, it's exciting. But generally, I don't give a shit about cars that much.
Well, they had celebrities. It was a bigger deal in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
But my Autorama story, I was going on a motorcycle trip out at Metro Airport, and I ran face to face. We ran right into each other. Was somebody that was at the Autorama, Batman, Adam West.
Uh-huh.
There were, at that time, I don't know about now, but it's kind of an event. So
yeah, I went a couple years ago, and I actually went. This person invited me out. It was a date. And I was like, dang, you want me to walk around? I'm looking all zesty with my heels on or whatever. But I actually had a great time because it's unlike the auto show, right? These people have decked out their vehicles. There's older vintage vehicles and that kind of thing. It was really, really cool to see the work and the detail that people put in these vehicles. And it draws a really large crowd.
I think is that what it is? Autorama. We believe it's Autorama. I need to make sure because I don't want to send somebody to Autorama.
Mm-hmm. It is for sure.
And it's over here at the Huntington, right?
At Huntington, yeah.
So all week when I was leaving out, because I live right next door, I'm like, why in the heck are all these big trucks and cones and I can't get home? I'm toot my horn, let me through.
Yeah.
Not road rage, but come to find out it's Autorama.
February 27th to March 1st, so it's just
just
getting underway.
It's frustrating when you live downtown. I used to live on Winder Street, 2 blocks from the stadium. And, I remember one day trying to get to yoga class, and there was like a country music concert at Ford Field, and there was a baseball game. I got about 2 blocks, and I was only trying to get downtown, but there's times when you live downtown or you're coming back from the suburbs or something, and, about 10, 11 at night on a Friday, and there's a Tiger game that's letting out, and there's concerts letting out. I mean, I've been stuck sometimes in a 2-block area for a half hour.
Well, I hate to say it, I did do something.
Yeah.
I drove up on the sidewalk to get home there last night.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I was like, I'm not sitting here. I'm not.
Should I get a written statement? I'll get the written statement.
Right. And listen, cop was right there. He didn't do a thing.
Oh, really?
Thank you, Jesus. But yeah, I'm tired of sitting here. Plus, I try to get all my water in. I was like, I got to get in here. I got to go.
Right.
But so if you guys are wondering, guess who's live with us? Lady T is sitting in the background running things. I want you guys to give her a shout out. But let me formally introduce the show.
All right.
So you're here joining us in Detroit in Black and White on Saturday morning. If you are watching, you already know what we want you to do. Janet, overall, you always follow the assignment.
There's not any right now.
Okay.
Terry McCrimmon, you always follow the assignment. Listen, we want you to like, subscribe, and share. To subscribe is what? Free.
We have Tracy.
It is
Just click
free.
a button.
Just click a button.
Click the
You
button
can
there.
find us on all social media platforms. You can also join us in the comment section. We're going to give you a shout out, but you can also use your phone. Use your phone, use the camera, and come on into the room. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So you want to do the shout out to the people that's joining us?
We have our Florida Detroit and Black and White group out there today. We have Marlon.
Hey, Marlon.
Good morning. And Jill.
Hey, Jill.
Good morning, Stephanie.
Hey, Steph.
Bridget.
Hey, Bridget.
Tracy. And the other Tracy, Loftus. Allan. Who am I missing?
Janet Overall.
Janet Overall.
Marlon Holt.
Kenneth Reed. Marlon. He's part of our Florida connection. Duela, always. Kenneth Reed. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This show doesn't go without you, and I come here every day just so I can talk to you guys. I love these two, but I'd rather talk to you guys.
And let me say, the views and opinions that these people spout on the air, they belong to them and them only. I will not sit here and say that I love these people that are sitting next to me.
But you do.
Kidding.
You just,
I do.
hey, you were just honest.
You know what? I probably shouldn't play like that because they may think that I'm being dishonest. No, but we're all family, and we love the fact that you guys decide to spend your Saturday mornings with us. So we're going to start off with the outrage. Who want to start? Okay.
I'll do it. I just put up a story this morning on Deadline Detroit on Alicia Bradford, who is the head of the Wayne County Parks. The parks, whatever. And so she is pleaded guilty to basically a felonious assault. Her husband was just found guilty yesterday in Oakland County of felonious assault and some firearms charges. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, I mean, it just shows the abuse of people with weapons. I mean, you have to be judicious when you carry a weapon. And now both of them are probably going to do some time for what, maybe, they might get, but basically what happened was they were at Farmington Hills on Orchard Lake. They were at a gas station. The husband was going to buy, was it Larry Bradford? I think it was a former cop.
Yeah.
So he went to buy, it was just right after midnight. So it was midnight or New Year's Day. And he was buying a can of Mountain Dew, and the clerk charged him 10 cents for the deposit. And he said, "Hey, there's no tax on pop." And the guy behind, and the clerk explained, "Well, it's 10 cents for the deposit," which is what we have in Michigan. And the guy behind him probably shouldn't have butted in just because, people are so hot-headed, and particularly New Year's Eve, people have been drinking and stuff. I don't know if they were drinking, but so the Larry Bradford turns to the guy says, "Yeah, well, the charge," he's sticking up for the clerk, and they get in, and Larry Bradford says, "Hey, mind your own business." And he says, "Hey, man," and then before you know it, they're fighting in the store, like shelves are being knocked over. So the guy Larry Bradford walks out. I guess he paid for his Mountain Dew. Maybe you shouldn't drink Mountain Dew. It leads to, it's the gateway pop.
I used to know it.
It's a gateway pop to violence. Yeah.
So
she's
sitting at my right.
Yeah. So
I'm reformed.
Yes, there's a lot of sugar in that Mountain Dew. But anyways, so Larry Bradford comes back into the store, pulls a gun out on the guy, makes the guy get on the ground. Then suddenly his wife comes in. She's brandishing a gun, pointing it at him. And she's going, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Hey, we were just arguing over some pop." And he goes, "I just want to get up." She goes, "You aren't getting up." And then she
Don't mess with my man. Don't mess with my man. I got my man's back.
And so they both are now, they're in trouble. And it's like, just because you're hot-headed and you've got a gun and you think you can brandish a gun like that and get away with it. And I tell people, friends and relatives who buy guns, I say, look, here's a few rules to live by. You're driving down Jefferson Avenue, at night, and you want to get a soda or whatever, pop, and you want to go into a party store. I said, because you think you have a gun, you can go in. I say, if you wouldn't go in without a gun, don't go in with a gun. Avoid situations that you can. I say, if you get stuck up on the streets, don't try. If someone's got a gun on you, don't try to draw your gun. And I said, if they run away with your wallet, don't try to shoot them in the back. And those are some very basics. And Jim,
not everybody should have a firearm. I guess that's my answer. Some people should and some people shouldn't. Yeah. I agree with you.
I mean, it's a lot of power. It's a lot of power. Suddenly you come in and, the equalizing, I mean, this guy's on the ground basically worried about his life. And, here's these two people who are like bullying him. And the guy says, I'm going to kill you,
Oh, so I have been robbed.
Right. Kenneth Reed said they had a sugar rush from the Mountain Dew defense. Will that work, Vanessa?
Wow.
No, she took a plea already. She
pled Wednesday, I think.
So
and he was found guilty Friday.
Yeah. So now she has a felony. Now she can't carry a gun. And now you can mess with her man because she don't have no heat.
And she lost her job. She had like $143,000 job or something for the county, and she had to resign.
Yeah.
So it's like just stupidity and hot-headedness, and it's like that gun is there. If you're going to use it, to protect yourself, not to bully people.
She's protecting others,
I guess.
Right. I'm just saying. Now, I'm making a joke out of it, but in all seriousness, it's a very serious story. You, like Jim says, everybody should not carry a gun. If you're a hothead, if you with somebody, and it was New Year's Eve, right?
It was New Year's Eve. It was right after midnight.
Yeah, they were probably all juiced up or whatever. It's just crazy.
So are you suggesting they were violating the law with a firearm over 0.02 blood alcohol level when they were carrying this firearm? So they were violating more than one law.
I
would think there should be some law involving Mountain Dew, because I don't think you should just be able to. Anyone can buy Mountain Dew.
Yeah. And Kenneth Reed has the Mountain Dew defense. He's asking our attorney on the panel.
He said what?
He's asking if the Mountain Dew defense.
I said probably not.
Merit.
She took a plea.
Well, they had, what was it in San
But you know what? Now he has me thinking. I don't know how much of the sugar rush had, how much of an impact it had on her brain, whether or not she could think straight. I mean, you know what? You may be able to get an expert to look into that, and that may be a defense. I mean, I'm making a joke out of it, but you have to be, as an attorney, you have to be very creative.
Why not?
It very well may be, but she said, you know what, bump that. He was found guilty. Let me go ahead and take a plea.
It was probably the withdrawals because he didn't have enough Mountain Dew.
Maybe so. Maybe it was the withdrawals from the Mountain Dew.
They dropped one of the charges for her, but she pled before he was found guilty on Friday. She pled on, I think, on Wednesday. But I mean, she was smart enough, and who knows what the deal is. I mean, really, are these two a danger to society? I mean, they're kind of menaces in just a way, but they're really not a danger to society. I mean, if a judge were to give them probation, I don't know that there'd be great
she probably would end up with probation. She probably was Oakland County. She probably will end up with probation.
Right.
Man,
all I can tell you is when I used to walk across, like the police department was across the street from City Hall, I would walk up and I'd go up to the second floor if I needed IT help. And I'd look in this office, and all I would see was Mountain Dew cans from the ground to the ceiling.
Wow.
And you couldn't even get in the room. There was it was like a semi crash with Mountain Dew on the highway.
Wow.
But I won't say who that was.
We already know who it is. But
so
she no longer drinks Mountain Dew. Is that correct?
Yeah,
she has decided to
blame
it on the alcohol.
How'd you kick the Dew?
I'm retired from IT.
Well, you know what? I used to drink Diet Coke. When I was at the Washington Post, there were times it'd be like a 16-hour day, and it was in the summer, and they had a soda machine there. I sometimes drank 4 20 ounces of Diet Cokes. And that aspartame in there is horrible. And I would sometimes start getting like a little bit of a weird, I'd walk after and I go, whoa, enough Diet Coke.
So you have something in common with the president then, is what you're trying to tell us.
I don't drink. I mean, occasionally I'll buy a bottle here and there, but I've kicked my Diet Coke thing, and I've a couple times fallen off the wagon, but it's a horrible habit. But I loved drinking Diet Coke, but
Really,
Yeah.
my habit was tea. It was Lipton tea when I was in college. And I realized, I was like, man, I'm drinking a whole lot of tea and I'm drinking it all the time. It has caffeine. I was like, I quit cold turkey. Don't drink it. Now, I am drinking today. I'm drinking lemon tea. And
is it herbal or got?
it is, I don't know if it's herbal. I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's just lemon and ginger.
Oh.
Lemon and ginger, something.
Lemon
And
and
it's
ginger. I
very,
bet
and
you
I
that's
just put a,
herbal. If
it's
lemon
very,
and
it's
ginger.
very, it's very good. But yeah, I don't drink soda at all. Mountain Dew, when I did drink soda, I would drink it every once in a while. I didn't like it. It was just too doggone strong for me. I'm sorry. I did not like it. But a lot of
those sodas have like 50 grams of sugar or something in a can. I mean, really, sugar and salt are two elements that our body. Too much of it is really. I mean, sugar. I mean, both can cause high blood pressure. Obviously, sugar, weight gain, and all that kind of stuff. So I think people have to be really careful about drinking sugary pops, but also, some of the diet sodas have all that fake. Stevia I think is a good.
Stevia
Is good, but most of them are using like that aspartame and stuff like that. I get like lightheadedness and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Janet overall asked, yes, Janet, Mountain Dew does have caffeine in it. We have some.
Go ahead.
We have some serious points. Mountain Dew, Coke, Monster Energy drinks. That's horrible.
Oh, we got less little.
Al Rose Way 957. Ale Rose. Ayla Rose. Sorry, I can't see. Let me get my glasses on here so I can get that name right.
He got me all the way together. I know you guys saw him.
Ayla Rose Way 957. Good morning to you. Yes, they're not good. Stay away from the diet anything, Mr. 1213. Blame it on the alcohol, Deborah Harris. Timothy, we have a couple of serious points that I think we need to touch on and maybe change the mood a little bit. Good morning. What are your all's opinion on the judge dismissing the case on the man killing the two people on DeSoto Street, and another one that I wanted to touch on, Deborah Harris. A quadruple shooting left 2 people dead and 2 others injured on Detroit's east side. So there's still too much violence, and we can talk a little bit. I'm not familiar with the DeSoto Street.
No, me either. So you got Timothy Squireberry. You're going to have to tell us about, good morning, what are your opinion about the judge dismissing the case, the man killing the 2 people in DeSoto Street, Detroit, Michigan? Well, I would say if it was a dismissal, obviously the prosecutor didn't have their ducks lined up in a row. A lot of people get upset because people say, oh, this person is guilty, right? Before they've heard all the evidence, before you make sure that people's constitutional rights have not been violated with a search warrant or with evidence, that evidence hasn't been tampered with. Those things make a difference. And people can get off on a technicality because, as you know, Jim, you can weigh in as a police officer. You have to make sure all your ducks are lined up in a row. Criminal procedure is a real thing. Am I correct?
That's absolutely right.
Search warrant is a real thing.
Everything needs to be done by the book.
Exactly. How you gather evidence, that's a real thing. And so people get emotionally upset, but it takes more than just the attorneys, the defense attorney and the prosecutor to make this whole thing work, right?
Yes, and we have Les Little on deck, but I wanted I just one more comment if I could. Ayla Rose, Wade, 957. Dr. King in the background. I want to comment on this. Could use some company with him, maybe Claudette Colvin and Big Brother Malcolm on that wall. Well, where we are is a law office. We're in borrowed space, I'll say. A law office of some esteemed attorneys in Detroit, friends of Allan Lengel, and that's why we're here right now.
Yes.
So this isn't really our space.
They're kind enough to let us use their conference room, so we're grateful for that. I was going to say, besides, we're going to bring on a guest here. We've got, hopefully, I don't know for anyone who's been watching the news this morning, but the U.S. and Israel have attacked Iran. Iran is attacking. There are air bases. You forget how many air bases are in the Middle East and all the different Middle Eastern countries. They're including Iraq and Bahrain. And so they are, Iran is shooting missiles. And I mean, it's interesting. The missiles sometimes take like an hour or two to get there. And so we're going to have Saeed, hopefully he's going to come on. I think he's over at WDIV right now. Saeed Khan, who's actually the host of our other show, the week that was. Saeed is a professor at Wayne State University on Far Eastern and global affairs, and is incredibly knowledgeable about this. So we're going to try to get him on for a few minutes just to talk about what's happening, which obviously impacts us as a country. I mean, they're attacking our troops in the Middle East, and who knows what beyond that. But right now, there is some skepticism. Trump is attacking Iran, saying that they were weeks away from creating a nuclear weapon, which there are a lot of people who are saying there's no evidence of that. But we'll have Saeed, who will give us a little bit more.
And to answer the
insight.
question,
Sure.
Timothy and also G Money, good morning to you. I want to look into the DeSoto shooting, and we'll have an answer for you, probably not this morning. And should we have Les join us?
We should have Les join us, but Les come on into the room, but we got to shoot to a break.
All right.
Les, you can make your a comment. Let Les in the room. We're going to shoot to a break, and then we'll come back. Detroit Black.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation? The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
We're back, Saturday morning's edition of Detroit Black and White. Thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, share. Catch us on all social media platforms. You can make a comment in the comment section. You can join us in the room. We have somebody that has joined Detroit Black and White on a few occasions. Good morning, Les Little. What's up? What up, though?
So, good morning, fellow patriots, Vanessa, Allan, and Jim. Yeah, I wanted to weigh in on the Mountain Dew because I'm a Mountain Dew drinker, but full disclosure, it's not straight Mountain Dew. It's water with some lemon in it. 90% water, 10% Mountain Dew, and a squeeze of fresh lemon. That's how you get rid of the anxiousness of all that sugar rushing through your body.
Okay, smart.
But since Allan brought up the conflict. All I got to think of is this one word, credibility. Because I was watching, Condoleezza Rice, Colin Powell, and the rest of the guys come on TV and say weapons of mass destruction. See, how can I believe this system of government when it has no credibility? And when they talked about the incident outside of Cuba, I can't believe this. They don't want to believe Cuba when they say those folks was in their space. But here it is. You are a country that has a low, really credibility rating. Okay. So to me, we in a real, dangerous place. When they go over there and attacking a sovereign country like Iran and Israel and United States bombing another country and without any evidence. And I've heard that it was peace talks going on or some kind of talking going on between them. Right. And now you're blowing up, I had a flashback moment of Japan. in 1940, in the 40s, Here is Japan and the United States, and then they start throwing their planes at us, okay? So we are in a credibility crisis, to me.
I agree. I mean, it's not just the first time. I mean, during the Bush administration, I'll tell you that in 2003, basically we were duped in, the Kurds in Iraq, Saddam Hussein hated the Kurds. The Kurds kept trying to figure out a way to get the U.S. in there. So they basically fooled the U.S. into thinking that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, which they did not. And I can tell you that, this is an idea of our intelligence. I was living in D.C. at the time, working for the Washington Post. I'm at a party around the block from my neighbor. My neighbor was always having different embassies over. That night, she happened to have the Israeli embassy over. And I was talking to an Israeli lawyer whose wife worked in the embassy. And we had not invaded Iraq yet. It was 2003. And I said, what do you think about that? And he says, we're not worried about Iraq. It's a secular nation. He goes, we don't think they have weapons of mass destruction. He said, we're worried about Iran. They're secular. They're trying to get, a nuclear weapon. And I went to the foreign desk the next day, and I told the foreign editor, I said, look, I had a conversation about this. And, the media fell short. In fact, Judith Miller on the New York Times kept pounding the drum saying they have nuclear weapons and bullying some of the generals and stuff into looking into it more. So we were duped as a country. But for me to be able to get intelligence like that at a casual party, and for the U.S. to not have that, or to lie to the American people to go in, and right now there's skepticism on this particular bombing. They're saying Iran is not close to having a nuclear weapon now that we bombed and Israel bombed them and stuff. And so I think we're not being told the truth again here,
So I agree with Les. I mean, credibility is an issue, and we're talking about them bombing and basically going to war. For me, it's hard to focus on that when we have a war going on right here at home in our own streets. I mean, there were several shootings yesterday. A guy who owned a restaurant, Sloppy Chops, he was gunned down. He's dead.
Where is
Sloppy Chops is one on McNichols. It was one up on Woodward. Jefferson. And what did they call it? Lamb chops or something like that. And then there was another one down Jefferson. And this young man is gone. You had a shooting at a repast, 2 people at a funeral. And, people wonder why people don't like to go to things like that. Marlon made a good point. Marlon Holt said, listen, this stuff has to stop. People don't want to come to Detroit in vacation because of this craziness. But getting back to what you brought up, and one of our viewers also brought up what's going on in Israel and everything. For me, it's very hard to focus because, listen, we're talking about what's going on over there, and we have a war right here in our own streets.
But it's, I mean, there's no guarantees that we're not going to have a attack. Yeah. I mean, at some point, Iran, they have proxies everywhere. They could blow up some bus stops here in Detroit. They could blow up in Manhattan. They could, we think it's always way far away, and we're always comfortable fighting wars way far away. But we saw September 11th, the potential for the war coming to, domestically. And so we have to be, vigilant and careful about, entering war. I mean, what's to stop Iran from saying, we're going to blow up some bus stops here?
Well, I have a question for the 3 of you and our viewers too. So this is kind of what I was thinking about this morning. I heard my congressperson on the radio this morning talking about the War Power Act. And of course, we know Deborah Dingell. I call her Deborah because that's what John called her, Deborah. So, and she was talking about the War Powers Act, and it made me think about the tariffs and Donald Trump installing tariffs and doing all these things. I couldn't tell you. She said at some time after World War II, Congress was involved in some kind of an action, maybe Vietnam, but they did not declare war. I guess my question is does Congress need to stand up and say, look, like they did in the tariffs, and say, you can't do this without our approval. You need to come to us. And as she said this morning, she was getting her information from CNN, MSN Now, and Fox News. So something's broken there, right?
Mhm.
People, the president, the
Yeah.
administration, even if they did not seek approval, they should have been conferring with Congress on this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the question is, does Congress need to stand up and say, you can't do this? Right?
Well, the government was set up for checks and balances. I think, unfortunately, there's such an intimidation factor going on that and not to blame the Republicans, but I will, is that
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, well, look, they're in power. They've got a Republican in the White House. They're in power, and we've got to see more checks and balances. We have to see more bipartisan support for issues that really shouldn't be partisan. I mean, in this country, it's so crazy how issues have become partisan. Like the vaccines have become such a partisan. The environment has become a partisan issue. Really, Russia and Ukraine, has become such a partisan issue here, and we've got to think more as the benefits of the country and what's good for the country. And it shouldn't be a Democrat and Republican. It shouldn't be that clear cut. Just like in the Supreme Court, we shouldn't be seeing such clear cut things where this group is going to vote this way, this group is going to vote that way. But that's unfortunately where we're at.
Thank you, Irene, for your point. Congress needs a backbone. I guess you said it more clearly and succinctly than I did. Thank you for that.
You're right. This Congress has been a lack of backbone for a long time. And this goes back a long ways back, being that I'm an African-American man in this country, we have been under attack for so many years, and nobody has came to our defense with legislation that protects our rights in this country. And as far as the credibility problem, that's been the credibility in African America for some time now. And we need to have a change of heart and mind in this system. And until we do, we got to we're gonna keep going down this road of really no backbone. And we need to have some people stand up. When we gonna have people to stand up for the people?
We're trying less. Less is more. I missed a comment somewhere. Two different sects of Islam. They can't do anything like. It's just to blind you with fear, Mr. 40 Scratch. Thank you. These are not new issues. Marlon Holt, Cuba is too close. What does Iran need range that can reach us? Why does Iran? Thank you, Marlon Holt. America hasn't won any war ever. Kenneth Powell.
It's basically, look, people are tribal. It's so crazy. I mean, we have the tribals of the Democrats and the Republicans. We have in the Middle East, we have the Sunni and the Shiite. The Iran's the Shiite. Hamas is Sunni. Hezbollah is Shiite. In Lebanon, there's the Christians and the Sunnis, and they're all just finding ways, where God was not intended. I always say, each group, whatever religion it is, think they're the group. And I always say, do you think God made just one good batch of cookies and he burned the rest and he told the good cookies to throw out the rest of the cookies, and I made a mistake? If you believe in God, God created everybody. There's a reason we have all these different people, and each religion takes it upon themselves to be, we're the religion, we're the correct religion, and you're not, and we have the right to whatever, dominate and take over. So.
Les makes the point. Here it is. I think this is his point. The DPD officer that shot a woman 6 times is a war too. Well, Les, here's my point on that. We said earlier that some people should not have firearms. That police officer should not have a firearm, and he should take responsibility for that shooting. And that's tragic. And I'm glad that she's alive. Hopefully she recovers fully from that. That was a tragic shooting.
And they're going to write a check. let's be
Of course.
clear.
Thank you, Les.
The city of Detroit, the citizens of Detroit will be writing a
Right.
check, a nice check at that. Kenneth Reed says he does not see any way of a regime change in Iran without American troops directly on the ground. Even with that, there is no guarantee of that happening.
Well, I'll say this: there may not be American troops on the ground right now, but there is the CIA and the Mossad from Israel on the ground there, and I'm sure they're providing some support there. But it is, I mean, this country's done regime changes, and they've ended up being disasters in a lot of countries. I mean, you know, we saw a regime change in '79 in Iran, and it ended up we got the Ayatollah instead of, you know, it was a monarch before that, but yeah, regime change is like, you know, Trump's like going, go ahead, take over now. We're gonna fuck up your country and go ahead, take over the regime. I mean, they're trying to take out some of the leaders there, and obviously they know where they're hiding, but those bunkers are pretty fortified. So,
And thank you, Les, for your point about the two. I believe it was in the last 2 years. I believe it was 2 black men have been found. One absolutely in the deep south,
Right.
and I question the authorities' ability to do an objective death investigation down there. I think they ruled that a suicide,
They did.
and let's just hope that there's some oversight there. Thank you for that comment.
So I want to read another comment that we have. Denominations, this is Deborah Harris. But first of all, Deborah, thank you so much for chiming in this morning. She says denominations are largely considered human constructs arising from different interpretations, cultural contexts, and historical divisions rather than the divine mandate. That is her comment. G Money says, yes, Detroit will write a check. Reports have been leaked that it will be between $5 to $6 million. And that $5 to $6 million, to me, that's just not enough.
Right.
You know,
So
that's just not that to me is just not enough. $1 million for each shot, I don't think so. This woman has children. She just think about the trauma that she has endured and will continue to endure.
for a lifetime,
you know,
sure.
for a lifetime. You know, thank God I have never had a gun pulled up. Well, yes, I have. I've been robbed before, but never had anyone shoot me or anything like that. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. Yes.
Very frightening.
Yep, it is very frightening. Listen, we're going to take a pause. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back. Detroit Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
So we're back at Detroit in Black and White, our Saturday morning's edition. I want to go back to a comment. Someone asked us about the DeSoto and the judge dismissing the case. And then somebody else came later on in the chat and says the case was dismissed because the witness did not show up. That happens when you have a constitutional right to what? To confront anyone who has a charge against you. If you don't have a witness, then the case goes away. But apparently the witness resurfaced, and now the case is back on. That happens a whole lot.
That's our friend G Money.
I had
Yeah,
in
that happens
DC.
a
I
whole
had
lot.
2 tickets dismissed, traffic tickets. One, the cop didn't show up, which was great. We had a bunch. I was there with a bunch of cab drivers who had tickets. We all say, they ask you, you want to admit guilt or contest? And as soon as you say contest, ticket dismissed. The other time, I made an illegal left-hand turn. The sign was so small. There was a cop sitting there. I saw the cop. I didn't see the sign. And he accidentally wrote the wrong date on the ticket. And so we went to court, and the officer gives a spiel about me. Mr. Lengel was going eastbound, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, Mr. Lengel, do you have anything to say? And I said, well, I don't dispute the facts of the case, but I think July 23rd is not a Sunday. It's a Saturday. I think he wrote the wrong. And And the judge looks at it and goes, he's right. Ticket dismissed. And the guy gives me the copy, turns to me, gives me the dirtiest look. And I just went,
Yeah. So, I will say, when a case is dismissed or something like that, as a defense attorney, you don't necessarily count it as a win because those cases can come back. I had it happen yesterday, and I had it happen a month ago.
so they get dismissed without prejudice.
It was dismissed without prejudice, and the witness resurfaced, made a contact with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, and guess what? We're back at square one.
So how often, Vanessa? Exams. I've been involved in as a witness where police didn't show up. An exam. It's the exam. It's a felony case.
Mm-hmm.
It gets dismissed. Well, then they have to reissue charges. That happens how often?
As far as I'm concerned, too often. The other day, earlier this week, I had a case, and the witness, the main witness, was not there. He was not available. So what we did was, to avoid all of that nonsense, dismissal, then for it to come back, we held the preliminary exam in part and had it the next day so the witness could come. Because I told my client, I'm like, look, they're going to reissue. They're just going to reissue. So it happens more often than what you would think. But it does happen. Okay.
Sure.
So, and I think it's important for us to talk about this because people have been saying the Constitution doesn't mean anything, right? This is an example of why the Constitution does still stand. Okay. You have a right to confront anybody that has a charge against you, a witness against you. And if they're not available, guess what? It can be dismissed. Okay. That's called the Fifth Amendment.
So how often does say a police agency and the prosecutor try to present a case that may be an exam and they don't want it to get to trial? They don't have the evidence, so they dismiss the case at exam to gather further evidence.
Oh, they do that as well. They do that, quite a bit. Yes, because they want what they believe is a airtight case. And then people have to understand that as attorneys, defense attorneys, first of all, one of the things that really bothers a lot of us is that we don't work for the prosecutor's office, and it's not our job to make things easy for you.
Right. Sure.
We're all working together, right? We're all working together, but we all have a role to do.
But talk about how discovery.
Discovery. So this happened earlier this week to me. I got digital discovery, but I did not have paper discovery. So I said, hey, where's my discovery? And the night before the preliminary examination, about 8:00, here I get discovery, right? But a lot of times the judges will dismiss it if you don't have discovery, right? They will dismiss it. But some of them will say, well, can you send them the discovery right now? And you go out in the hall and go over the discovery so you can hold the preliminary examination. Now, people, I don't know how y'all feel about that, but that happens.
Yeah.
More often than
shouldn't have
you would like to say. And I'm not, listen, people need to understand this. Judges put on a robe, right? Do you guys understand that they are administrators? Do you understand that they have some discretion over some things,
right,
but they're administrators. They're making sure that the case goes through the system
smoothly.
So a lot of people get caught up in these titles, and I say, do not get caught up in titles and roles. Get caught up in whether or not the person is fair, honest, has integrity, has compassion and empathy. And guess what? Some people don't. Okay.
So we have Saeed Khan. You want to
right.
bring Saeed? Here we are. Saeed Khan. Thank you, Saeed, for coming on. Saeed is a professor at Wayne State University, specializing in Far Eastern studies and also global affairs, and is incredibly knowledgeable about the Middle East and about the Iran war. And I thought it'd be interesting that overnight we all started getting messages on our phone saying that Israel and the U.S. had attacked Iran. I know there's some skeptics who say, Trump is trying to say they were just weeks away from a nuclear weapon. I've read this morning, New York Times, where they were saying there are skeptics of that. What's going on, Saeed?
Hey, Alan, thanks for having me on. So basically where we are is a kind of a statement that has been made, particularly by Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, for the better part of 20 years, that Iran is on the threshold of being nuclear military capable, that they're an imminent and an existential threat at any moment. And there's really been no evidence of this. I mean, even looking at the Iran nuclear deal that was signed under Obama, there was the inspections by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, and even by the time Trump pulled out of that deal in 2018, the IAEA even had to admit that Iran was in full compliance of all of the terms, including a limit on uranium enrichment, and also making sure that it was in compliance when it came to its nuclear reactors and facilities. The U.S. has been negotiating with Iran in Geneva for the past week and is still scheduled to go ahead and meet with them next week. We'll see, or this coming week. We'll see how that goes. And it reminds me of that scene in The Godfather where the negotiator is playing cards while Michael is meeting with Sollozzo and the police chief. It almost seems like a big stall tactic, and I think it really then speaks volumes about American intentions. This is being framed as a preemptive war, but I think it's more apt to call it a premeditated war, going in there to, at least today's rhetoric, get rid of the regime, and then also to deal with the ballistic missile program of Iran, which hadn't been on the agenda yet by the United States.
Do you sense that is it Israel? I mean, Israel always wants to go, particularly Netanyahu has always wanted to go after Iran. Do you feel like this has sort of been driven by Netanyahu convincing Trump, who Trump says, we've got all these toys, let's use them? What's your sense on that?
Well, you remember, Alan, I mean, this is a president that famously or infamously campaigned on not going to war, and in fact, chastising even Obama and Biden for getting us into wars without looking at diplomacy, being a deal maker and all, despite the fact that he pulled us out of the Iran nuclear deal, which was a pretty good deal in the first place. I think that there's a lot of people that probably are working on Trump. I don't think it's just Netanyahu. I think it seems as though he's getting a lot of his talking points from the hawks, people like Lindsey Graham, people even like Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, who are negotiating on behalf of the U.S. in Geneva. And I think that he's certainly a man who has his ego, and probably being told, hey, if you got all these toys, what does it say that you don't bring them out? I think you're absolutely right. But I don't think he appreciates the consequences of it, because he's also somebody who doesn't really have much of a moral hazard. Think about it. He's not on the agenda on the ballot for the midterms. He's not on the ballot in 2028, despite what he sometimes says. And so for him, it doesn't really matter. This is a lame duck president with a whole lot of firepower. And
so where does it lead to now? And I guess people here in Detroit may say, well, why should we care? It's way over there. We've got our things going on here. Why should people care about it? How do you respond to that?
Well, I think at the very least, and if there is something that Americans should care about, because America helped create the modern international system of the rule of law, this is a violation of international law by any way that you shape it. It also, one could argue, violate the Constitution in the fact that the president didn't seek, under the War Powers Act, authorization by the Congress. It's interesting that they call this a military operation. No, this is war, and especially when they're stating that they want to take out the leadership whether it's the Supreme Leader, Grand Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, or members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Council. That's not a military operation. That's an all-out war. So I think that Americans should care about that. I think Americans should care on a humanitarian level. Anytime there's going to be, whether it's indirect or direct loss of innocent and civilian life, I think Americans should also care that at least temporarily, you're going to see probably a spike in the price of gas, because this is a pretty well-trafficked waterway. And if Iran wanted to, could probably mine the Strait of Hormuz and create a global economic crisis because of the oil supply. So I think there's a lot going on here.
There's a lot. I was listening this morning and talking about all the potential targets in the Middle East, U.S., which I assume there's probably some Michiganians or even Detroiters in the military there. Tell me which countries. It's always, you forget how many military bases are in those countries. Tell us which countries have U.S. bases.
Sure. I mean, well, part of it is that the United States has military presence in 122 out of 193 countries, but in the region, you've got you've got the United Arab Emirates, you have got in Qatar U.S. Central Command, you've got in Bahrain the U.S. Fifth Fleet, and in fact, there are reports that the naval base in Bahrain was in fact hit by the Iranians. There's also a military presence in Saudi Arabia, albeit somewhat reduced than we saw during the Iraq wars. I mean, in essence, they've already surrounded Iran and have done so for several decades. And you're right. I mean, we don't know the state of origin of the military personnel that we have there, but I imagine just from statistically, there's got to be some Michiganians there.
And one last question here about, Trump is talking about regime change. He's going, go ahead, we're screwing up. We're going to bomb here and there. We're going to try to kill all your leaders and go ahead and take over. What's the possibility of regime change as a result of this?
I think it's probably almost zero. The idea that if you get rid of the Grand Ayatollah, they're probably six deep. I mean, it's like the British royal family. You get rid of Charles, you've got William. You get rid of William, you got George. You get rid of George, you got Charlotte. I mean, it's not like it's a very shallow bench that's over there. Similarly with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Council. And so if they're looking for some kind of French Revolution style situation where you get rid of the monarchy, I don't really see that happening. In fact, I don't think it's really an intended goal. I think what really is the goal by Netanyahu and by Trump is to create enough chaos that Iran just simply implodes, maybe even into a kind of very decentralized country with a bunch of provinces without much strong central administration.
Like similar
yeah.
to Afghanistan.
Yeah, and then we see how great that's turning out.
Libya or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much. I really, it was a last minute thing, and I'm grateful that you were able to come on and shed some light onto this, which is
anytime, my friend. Yeah. And by the way, Priya says hi.
Oh, okay. Tell her to say hello. All right.
That's hilarious.
Right.
Thank you so much for
Okay.
coming up to Church Black and White.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
Well, that was a good interview.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me what's going on. Like I say, there's so many, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of military people are not only based in the Middle East, but also have been sent out there on those destroyer ships. There's got to be some Detroiters and some Michiganians out there.
Oh,
and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it does, I think we sometimes forget, we think it's so far, and it is far away, but the world's so connected in so many different ways.
It is, and we have to think about the family members that have families that's over there, a son, a daughter, a niece, a nephew, a grandson, a husband, a father. And so this impacts everybody. So I do agree with that, but I do believe, because if we were to go out on the street and you use your microphone, hey, I'm a reporter from Deadline Detroit, what do you think about that? Right. Average Detroiter is like, what the hell are you talking about? listen, I'm trying to figure out what's going on the block. I'm just saying that is how, that's the reality. And
it's probably a mix. I'm
yeah.
sure. So, look, there's some people who just don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And Americans have that luxury a lot of times not to pay attention. Like when you live in Europe, like my parents grew up in Europe. When you were having like incursions and invasions and wars and all that kind of stuff, you pay a little bit closer attention to the current events, because before you know it, tanks can be rolling over into your border. We don't worry about, really. I mean, we saw September 11th, which was a reminder that our borders are not always totally safe.
I think you would be a good spokesperson for the governor of Michigan when she was asked a question about Ukraine, because you made a great point. And maybe you could tell AOC too, Alexandra Cortez, what's her name?
AOC.
That there's a reason why Taiwan's kind of important to the U.S. because they are a free country just outside of China. Maybe you could do some consulting, Allan.
There you go. Well, we talk about the U.S. aid and stuff like that, and we want to have allies. I mean, we have bases all around the world. Do we have it because are they protecting corporations? Are they resources? Lithium batteries and stuff where we have So, we nurture relationships with foreign nations, sometimes selfishly because we need their resources. It seems like the Middle East, we don't need the oil from the Middle East as much as we used to need it. So our interests there are not maybe quite as great, but everything is influenced by, OPEC, which is, it's not all Middle Eastern countries, but they can decide to raise their prices, and suddenly our pocketbooks are impacted by that. So it's
just brief. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're going to go a little bit over because today is the last day of February. This is our last day of celebrating Black History Month. But as we know, we celebrate Blackness and American history every day, all day. So we're going to each do our tribute. But before we do that, Jim, you had something that you wanted to say.
Yes, I'm going to say my tribute, but I'm going to tell you this. To all our friends out there, we appreciate what you have to say. Thank you for making your comments. We learn from you. But let's, whether you're for the death penalty or pro Roe v. Wade or against it, none of that makes this is my thoughts. None of that makes you a lowlife, all right? Whether you're for strict gun control or strict control of drug laws, whatever. Everybody has their own opinion, and a lot of people's opinions are based on their lifestyle and the experiences they've had in their life. So I want to be respectful. I'm not always respectful, but you know what? You're welcome to say whatever you want in this program.
Why you scoff?
And we appreciate it.
Why did you scoff?
No, he said I'm not always respectful. Yeah, okay. I buy that.
Thanks, Allan. Thanks for
I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you said that because I tried to address it in the comment section. Look, we all learn from each other, and I know we could be really passionate about some things. We could really get into a heated discussion, but never do we cross the line by calling each other names and that kind of thing. We have to go somewhere in the corner and cool off and come back. So listen, the reason we're saying this is because this show would not be Detroit Black and White without Les Little, okay? Without Teresa, without Marlon, without Deborah Harris, Stephanie,
Deborah,
Bridget, D.
Karen
Holly,
C.
Jay, G. Money, Allan Lengel, Vanessa Moss, Adolph Mongo. Detroit in Black and White is us. We're family. So thank you so much. So that means we can't call each other. That means we can't call each other what? Names? Is that what you say?
DeBreg and Deborah and Jay and Timothy.
Listen, I can't tell you what to type. I'm just encouraging you to be nice.
Was somebody calling somebody names?
Yeah, somebody called somebody a dirt bag or something like that. But at any rate, but let's get to our Black History Month. Les, do you want to have something to say before we go?
Yeah, let me, because I know you remember this, Vanessa. This is a part of Black history, right? This is the a poster of we was at the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals in Cincinnati, Ohio, on May 3rd, 2002. I call it the shot not heard around the world. I want to use the word destabilization. We have a country that destabilizes other countries, and it also destabilizes its own country when it comes to African America. We have a whole lot of history of being infiltrated when we are doing nothing but trying to live our best lives. So when we say we shouldn't be caring about what's going on across the water, we should, because it's our tax dollars that they're using to destabilize other countries. And when you destabilize the countries, it does nothing but brought chaos to that country. And in African American, it had destabilized a lot of generational wealth that should have been given to our ancestors and our generations that are living today. So that's my, and I want to say happy birthday to my father. He was born today on February 28th in 1917. And he passed away in January of 92. So
what's his name?
Right.
What was your father's name?
Lawrence, Larnce. And my brother was supposed to be named after him, but the communication at the hospital with my mom and probably some nurse that didn't understand, he should have been named after my father, but he's Lawrence now. So that's a little bit of African American history.
Thank
you so much.
Birthday.
Okay, you want to go?
I want to say I'm going to go really local here, but I think we all have people, whether Jewish or Catholic or Muslim or whatever, that we're proud of, and I think my friend Yule Perkins, I think, is such a classy guy who really brought such class and he was one of the last of really the old time anchors like Lamar Crims and even Devin Skillion. But Yule Perkins was such a professional and remains. Sometimes he comes on our show. Mm-hmm. He's just such a classy guy, and I think he's such a credit really to humanity, period. But certainly, as a black person, as an anchor, which we haven't had a lot of black male anchors here in Detroit, and I think you'll just.
I was about to mess with you, but I'm not gonna mess
Go
with
ahead.
you. Thank you.
Fantastic job, and Yule's a friend that I really appreciate everything he's done.
Yeah. Les Moore says Emery King. Go ahead, Jim.
Emery
Well,
King,
we had one. Irma Henderson, thank you. Miss Suzuki, first African American woman elected. Irma Henderson, of course. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm trying. Agnes Calamont Hitchcock for the month. Kenneth Powell, thank you. I'm gonna go deep. Emery King, Les. I'm gonna go deep here, right? I want to recognize William Tucker, and probably a lot of our viewers know who I'm talking about when I mentioned William Tucker. William Tucker was the son of Isabel and Anthony. The first African American child born in the colonies, right? They landed near Hampton, Virginia, and William was born in 1624. Not much is known about William, but the first African American to the Jamestown colony, they landed at Old Point Comfort. So people say Jamestown. It really wasn't Jamestown. Jamestown is up the James River, and Richmond's up the James River. And I was in Richmond a week or two ago, and I saw John Rolfe Parkway. John Rolfe was married to Pocahontas. Historic. Why isn't William Tucker Boulevard right next to John Rolfe Boulevard? Right. Is my question. And why don't we recognize some of these folks? We don't know what happened. Just like Virginia Dare is all over North Carolina, who was the first white child born in 1587, I think, and was at the Lost Colony. Right. Nobody knows what happened to Virginia Dare, but everybody thinks they know what happened to Virginia Dare. No one talks about William Tucker, the first black baby born in the United States, and everything came after that. So I want to recognize William Tucker.
I enjoy that. So mine is going to be home. I did talk to this person this morning, and he said, well, I'm glad I'm not going to be there this morning. My tribute is to Adolph Mongo, who is the creator of Detroit in Black and White. Yeah, he was born January 15th, 1954 in Detroit, Michigan, raised in Royal Oak Township. He attended Oak Park Public Schools. While he was at Oak Park Public Schools, he was the managing editor of the Eagle
No, the
American.
editor. He was the editor.
And
he editor-in-chief.
Okay, during his senior year, he helped lead the school its first state championship in track, where he earned all state honors. For people who don't know, that dude can run really, really fast.
Adolf was fast.
He staged a walkout at the school. He was educated at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor on an academic scholarship. He also attended Wayne State University, where he received his master's degree in labor history. He also served in the military. He served his country proudly. His political career spans him working for Coleman Young for over 11 years. He has he's helped get a lot of people elected on the bench in Wayne County. He has clients all over the United States. He has a heck of a presence here in Detroit, Michigan, as well as in the United States. So my hat goes off to Adolf. Even though he can't be here today, he recognizes and appreciates not only us holding the fort down, but he appreciates you guys contributing to Detroit Black and White. So my hat goes off to Adolf.
Amen. I want to say, Adolf, when I was the sports editor at our high school paper, Adolf was the editor-in-chief. And Adolf, always had a great sense of humor. And, I first met Adolf in 7th grade. We were in the homeroom together. And so I tell this story before, but I had a social studies class first hour, and we took a test, 50 questions, true and false. At the end, the teacher said, the answers are all true, but don't tell the other classes because I'm giving the same test. So I see Adolf in the hallway and I go, all true. And Adolf goes, it was we didn't know each other that long. And he goes, I don't know. Do I trust that white boy? And so Adolf did 48 out of 50 true and ended up getting, an A, obviously. But we've been good friends since. And we were on the football team together. I wasn't very good. Adolf was. He was a great athlete. I remember school had just started, and one of the kids who was kind of a jerk called Adolf the N-word, and Adolf tracked that guy. I mean, Adolf ran so fast. He tracked down that kid in a second, man.
Yeah,
but Adolf, I mean, the one thing I'll say, Adolf's always had a great sense of humor. We've always had a lot of fun.
Has a memory like an elephant. Yeah. And I think it should be noted that he went to the University of Michigan before Prop 2, right? He went on an academic scholarship, which is, I mean, that was in the 70s. That is a big deal.
Yeah.
So
he's an amazing human being. That's all I'm going to say.
He's an really great guy. I think a lot of people misunderstand him. I was one of them, I admit. The first time I met him, it was at an event, whatever. We had a conversation. I was like, I can't stand that. Whatever. And later on, we met, and I'm going to say about 12 years ago. And we've been rocking ever since. And he always teasing me, yeah, you didn't like me when I first met you. I said, to be fair, I didn't know you. And that was unfair to you. And I realized that you can't judge a book by a cover.
That's
I remember when I first met you, we were going sparring back and forth, but I
don't
knew.
Remember that.
Oh, you came over. Don't even try it. You came over to 910, and we were going back and forth. But just good. You can't judge a book by the cover. You really can't. So all of us have different hats. Jim has a different hat when he's the cop, as opposed to Jim, the co-host of Detroit Black and White, or Jim, the friend at Ramsey's. Vanessa's a different person in the courthouse than she is out dancing at a dance event, or sitting chopping it up with Allan, having coffee, or I don't drink coffee, but tea. So we have to remember those things. We have all different sides.
That's a great point. For all our friends out there, you may call somebody a bad name, but you don't know them like you should know them. If you sat down and had a cup of coffee with them.
I have a memory of Adolf too. He was when I worked with Call 'em Out Coalition, he was the first host of our Call 'em Out banquet of Sambo Awards with Chair McPhail. So,
oh yeah.
okay. Jerry Blocker. Anybody remember that?
Jerry Blocker, absolutely.
Before we leave, I know we're over.
Yeah.
Can we recognize our
Absolutely.
viewers?
Go
Our
ahead.
viewers.
Go ahead, give them a shout
Our
out. All of them.
viewers have recognized some people, and I don't. I did that the other day, and we left. Henrietta Lacks, the heirs fight. For over 70 years, the Lacks family received no compensation for the billions in profits made from their cells, which were used to develop vaccines.
But she got money the other day. I read a story yesterday. Yeah, they just settled with the family. Yep.
Brenda Hill, thank you, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
All great choices, Kenneth Powell. Mayor Coleman Young, less is more. Thank you. Farrell Boyce, first black female boiler operator for the waterworks. Thank you, Duela.
That's Duela's mother. And she was
Thank
supposed
you,
to come
Duela.
on the show and talk about her mother. That's big deal.
Well, we need to
First
do that one night.
black female boiler operator.
Thank you,
Waterworks
Duela. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Crispus Addicts, first person killed in the Boston Massacre, JRW. Thank you. Joanne Robinson, the orchestrator, I think, of the nearly year-long Montgomery bus boycott. Rosa Parks hadn't been arrested yet when she initially threatened to boycott and made sure it happens. Thank you, Joanne Robinson. Thank you for that. Les says all births and deaths cannot be verified. Absolutely right. Dr. Sweet. Thank you, Kenneth Reed, for recognizing Dr. Sweet. And that, the tragic life that he lived after fighting for what was right.
Right. Protected his house.
Emery King, I think we got that. Marlon's not offended by free speech. I know my name. I answer to Marlon when called. Thank you, Marlon. And we appreciate you. And Marlon, don't ever leave us, because I don't know what we do without you.
I want to do a quick shout out to when I get involved in a show. No.
Okay.
I've been watching on HBO The Pit, which is basically about an ER room in Pittsburgh. It's amazing. It's an amazing show. It's so people in the healthcare will say, I can't watch it, or it's just too much like being at work. But it's a reminder of the healthcare people every day. I mean, when you see the ER, all the stuff they go through and they move, and the amazing stuff they do in the ER. And so shout out really to the people in the ERs all around here, and I've ended up in the ER a few times over the years, and it's chaotic and crazy, and
everything ends up in the ER. That's what I always used to say in policing. That's the final spot. Everything ends up in the ER. Doesn't matter what happens, a shooting, a stabbing, a family fight, every police incident, almost all of them end up at some point. Traffic crashes, they all end up in the ER.
Right.
So it's a tough job.
It's amazing just watching it. I mean, it's so realistic, but you realize the intensity that these people, and the emotion of seeing people who don't want to see, like, there'll be somebody who's brain dead, and the family would be like, no, you've got to do something still. And they're like, sorry, but they try, most try to do it with compassion. And, I've met a lot of nice people in the ER, unfortunately, but I have, or fortunately.
Thank you, Kenneth, Diana Lewis, Carmen Harlan, and Doris Biscoe, Betty DeRamus.
Okay.
Well, Betty DeRamus, who just passed away recently, who I worked with at the Detroit News, really is very sweet, smart woman.
Okay, well, we're wrapping up Saturday. Join us, the crew, on Wednesday. But before you join the crew on Wednesday, we encourage you to watch Detroit Black and White Presents Reality Strike. Tomorrow's the beginning of Women's History Month. I don't know if you guys saw my shirt. But also reading the Literacy Month. And Erica's doing a great show on Monday. He's going to have Chuck Stokes on the show on Monday.
Yeah,
so
cool.
that's a big deal. But we'll see you guys again on Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. Thank God.
Thank you, Les, and thank you, Mr. Khan, for coming on
Yep.
and guiding some of our.
Absolutely. Love you all. Bye-bye.